Hello there, YouTube. It is your boy, B3, back with another kicking graphic novel review. Yes, now, lately, we've been doing a lot of reviews of weird DC. Just books and characters from DC Comics that are weird. So that means Grant Morrison books and Doom Patrol, but also Swamp Thing, one of my favorite DC characters of all time. And today we are reviewing Swamp Thing Volume 5 from the New 52. It's called Swamp Thing The Killing Fields. So, we have reviewed Volume 4. For some reason, we haven't reviewed 1 through 3. To be honest, guys, I just kind of review books as I want. I used to try to review everything in order, but I kind of stopped caring to do that. Now I just kind of review whatever I feel like reading. And what I felt like reading was Swamp Thing Volume 5, The Killing Field. And I reviewed Volume 4 forever ago. Volume 4 is called Cedar, for he was the main antagonist of this. This is the New 52 Swamp Thing run, as I said, but it's also the Charles Soule run, which came after Scott Snyder's magnificent 3-volume run on Swamp Thing. But this is pretty good. I think it's actually better than Volume 4. Because Swamp Thing, destroyed this oasis Cedar made. Because, yeah, Cedar is going around the Earth, and he's, bringing plant life to places that don't have it. But here's the thing. Not all places are meant to be covered in plant life. So he goes to the desert, but it's a natural desert. It's not human desertification where he's doing this. So, yeah, he's making a bunch of plants in this environment, but then to maintain the balance, a bunch of plants have to die somewhere else, which causes havoc. It's not great. But, Swamp Thing has that woman with him who becomes irrelevant so quickly in this. She just stops being part of the story. Excuse me. And they circle back to her, but she just kind of seems to stay at, Alec Holland's place. This is still Alec Holland's Swamp Thing. I say still, but really, for most of Swamp Thing's existence, Alec Holland wasn't Swamp Thing. It was a being made entirely of plants that was an experiment of the Parliament of Trees that just thought it was Alec Holland. But then eventually, when Alec Holland was resurrected, he was then actually turned into Swamp Thing. It's kind of confusing. It's kind of confusing, but it's fine. So it turns out Cedar is Jason Woodrue. Jason Woodrue. And if you don't know who that is, it's DC Comics' The Floronic Man. If you're not a big comic reader, but you really like the movies, like the animated films and stuff, he is the plant guy in the Batman Harley Quinn animated film. He teams up with Poison Ivy. That's Jason Woodrue. That's the Floronic Man. And he's one of the biggest Swamp Thing villains. And see, New 52 was kind of a reboot in a way. So Woodrue hasn't been the Floronic Man yet, but it seems like there's an image of him as the Floronic Man in, I think it's volume 3 of New 52 Animal Man, which isn't correct. Because, according to this book, he's never been the Floronic Man. He's helped Alec Holland, but, memories of it were taken from Holland. It's very weird. But Woodrue, of course, wants to be connected to the green. He wants to be Swamp Thing. So, there's kind of a challenge, and the green is yeah, fuck it. You and Swamp Thing, battle it out, and the winner can be the new avatar of the green. Also, we get to see some really cool past avatars of the green. One that's a trilobite, and you guys know I work closely with natural history museums as my day job. So seeing that was like super cool. And then the next one it shows is like a sauropod, like a podosaurus swamp thing. And I'm like, oh my god, action figure win. Then there's like a caveman one and a samurai one, and it's like, oh god, it's so cool. They get less interesting to me after the caveman one, because then there's like a legionnaire one who's pretty cool. But to be honest, New 52 Swamp Thing with the antlers and wings is really neat. I know those are features commonly associated with the red, and I can see why someone would kind of knock the character design for that and be like, hey, those aren't plant things. But if you think of like the leaves making wings and like branches being the antlers, that's pretty interesting. But also, it's kind of reflective of the symbiotic nature that the green has with the red. Very cool. Also, it's from Scott Snyder's run, which was dope. Anyways, inside the green, Alec Holland is making friends with like previous avatars. Because some avatars want Holland to remain Swamp Thing, and some want Woodrow to become Swamp Thing. So Alec Holland is like getting all this crazy training from these different previous avatars who are really powerful, and learned how to use their powers. And they're like, oh, you think of yourself as a human, which limits your abilities. If you think of yourself as a plant, then you'll be able to do so much more. And one really cool thing was Alec Holland going into the green and talking to the Swamp Thing I previously mentioned that has all his memories but was never a human being. And he's like made of like these blue tubers or whatever. So cool. Him like meeting the Swamp Thing that used to think it was him. Very cool. But he has his big battle with Woodrow, which is actually a really good fight. And Swamp Thing wins, but also loses? Like, he beats Woodrow, but then the green is like, alright, kill him. You know, a human that knows as much about the green as him either has to be Avatar or die. But Swamp Thing refuses to kill Woodrow, so the green is like, okay, look, if you're not going to be willing to kill to protect the green, then you can't be Avatar. So they basically kill Swamp Thing and put his mind into the green, like in retirement, which is actually very nice. The green is kind of a paradise for all of the previous avatars. It's actually very nice. I would dig that afterlife. And they make Jason Woodrow the new Swamp Thing. So I guess now he is the Floronic Man, but he is a Swamp Thing. But he's very insecure about it, because he knows he kind of lost to Alec Holland, so he's like overly eager to prove himself to the green, but also to himself, because he knows deep down that he's not as good as Alec Holland. So he tries to kill what he believes is the Avatar of the Red. He thinks Animal Man is the Avatar of the Red, but if you watched our last review over Animal Man Volume 1 from the New 52, you know that that's not the case. Animal Man's daughter is the Avatar of the Red. And also, Jason Woodrow very clearly doesn't understand the Red, like, at all. And his fight with Animal Man is also really excellent. The fights in this volume are fantastic. They're very cool visually, but they're also very smart fights. You know, it's not just whoever punches the hardest wins. It's about, usually, you outthink your opponent in this book. And I really appreciate that. The fights in this book are a great balance of brain and brawn. And I really appreciate that. I think that's pretty incredible. But Woodrow is proving to be a very brutal avatar. So Swamp Thing is like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I have to escape the green. And he doesn't know how to do it. And then there's a very brutal, almost genocidal Avatar. She's very strong, but she's a freak. She told Alec Holland that she was actually behind the Irish potato famine. Of course, if you know the real history of the Irish potato famine, it was actually a secret genocide. Look it up. Look it up. I'm serious. It was a genocide against the Irish people. Anyway, she's like, I want to go back to the surface too. I want to kill some animals. I want to kill some red stuff. She loves murder. And she has a very cool design too. So they go to the Parliament of Trees. That is where the green touches the world of the living, because the Parliament, projects themselves into the living world. So Swamp Thing and this other previous Avatar fight the Parliament to get out, but Swamp Thing himself is like, nope, sorry, other Avatar, you can't come out because you're an insane lady. So he kind of goes back on his deal with her because he's like, I can't let you back into the human world without someone to send you back to the green if you go too far. Because if they do this, then the Parliament isn't really able to access Earth anymore. Swamp Thing is not fucking around here. So he goes back, basically comes back to life and fights Woodrow. But the thing is now, if Swamp Thing dies, he dies. He's a lot weaker. And things are going crazy. Just absolutely crazy. And he fights Woodrow. I'm not going to tell you exactly how it ends because I do want you to read it. But Swamp Thing basically becomes the green itself almost. He comes back weaker, and then he becomes seemingly much stronger than he was. So now, not only is he acting as Avatar, but it seems like he's kind of acting as the green itself as well. Which is very cool. Anyways, let me read you the back of the book, which I very much should have done at the beginning of this review. You win or you die. Once he was Dr. Alec Holland, then he was transformed, made into a guardian of all plant life on Earth and a vessel for all its incredible power. Now he is Swamp Thing, the Avatar of the Green, but not for long. A new contender for the mantle of Avatar has emerged. He is the Cedar, and wherever he plants his crop, tremendous transformation and deadly devastation follows. He has deep roots in Swamp Thing's old life, and he wants his new one. Now Swamp Thing must step into the arena of the green and do battle with this challenger to remain the Avatar and avoid oblivion. To do so, he'll have to form alliances with Avatars from ages past, including the one who believed himself to be Alec Holland and battled in his name. He must strike swift and strike hard, for plants and the power they possess are all but infinite. But when it comes to those who can harness that power, for good or evil, there can be only one, Highlander style. In Swamp Thing, The Killing Fields, a creative team led by Charles Soule from Superman Wonder Woman, which I reviewed the first 3 volumes of, and Jesus Saez from Manhunter, dive deep into the untold history of the Green for a battle unlike any Swamp Thing has ever faced. Collects issues 24 through 27 and Swamp Thing Annual number 2. So yeah, it's a very good book. I do recommend reading it for yourself because I did leave a lot out. It's got very cool art. Swamp Thing books usually often focus on the color green. That's one thing I liked about one of the Swamp Thing books I reviewed a while back. The Swamp Thing, Volume 1 Becoming. I say a while back as if it wasn't one of the most recent reviews. Had a lot of purples and stuff in that book. But there's good art in this, and a pretty good story. I liked it more than Volume 4. I really did. I actually liked it a lot more than Volume 4. I think it's a much more memorable part of that story. And I cannot wait to read the next volume. So that is it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm not sure what I'll review next. Let me know in the comments what you want. Do you want more Animal Man, more Swamp Thing, or more Green Lantern? Or more Doom Patrol type stuff. So that's it. Thank you all once again. I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.